Hello there guys, welcome back to the Flying Birds Daily Vlogs. We're up to day 11 at the moment, and every day we're getting closer to what many people fear is the inevitable. Donald Trump is getting close to being President of the United States, which is a very worrisome thing for a lot of people. This white supremacist, as he's been dubbed, even by his former colleague, by his predecessor, being Obama. What a lot of people aren't aware of is that for the first time during an election, or during a presidential reign, Obama was at war every day for 8 years. 8 years of war every day. That's over 2,000 days where they were at war. Do you see the problem with that? You put a black African American, that's a bit of tautology there, but the same thing, at the front of this to change the establishment. Did it work? Did it really change the way we look at this? There's still an increased number of violence towards black people, and there's an increased violence, and there was even recently the kidnapping, the 4 young black men, kidnapping a mentally disabled white man. And you see, the issue with that is that I don't think Donald Trump's a white supremacist. I got told today, I want you to give me the most logical answer. I said, I got challenged. I said, I want you to throw me a curveball. I'm not going to say who it was. People can probably guess who it was. But the curveball I gave him was that, what if Trump is taking the most extreme stance he possibly can to voice the concerns of one group about another group in a public forum to encourage discussion? I know it makes him sound like a really smart bloke, but is that over analysis? Is it? You see, I think the main flaw is well, me and you can be critical thinkers and look for the indiscrepancies and the flaws in Trump. Not everyone can, because people still trust the American system. I do want to apologise. I had to get a few of my facts wrong yesterday during my rant on the establishment. But I want people to understand that we have to stop looking at things by that there was a primary factor in how they got to the place they did. A lot of people are saying that Trump got a lot of white supremacist votes. He probably did. But to say that is the reason he's president, I think is wrong. I think you have to look at a variety of reasons for why he got there. Because ultimately, me and a few friends agree, Trump played the game and won. It was a game of chess, a game of wits, and Trump won. How does that happen? I think that's the most ironic thing of the American election, is that Trump wants to deport Mexicans for stealing jobs of the US citizens, right? Because of they're beneath Americans. But I find it ironic that Hillary Clinton, who was a politician for 20 years, lost to a man with no training, no filter, and he won the election. There's a beautiful saying in Islam about, when you are faced with two evils, you always take the preferred less. And that's what that election was. I don't know anyone who would have supported Trump from the very beginning. I think if you did, I think there's something wrong. For those that want to whinge about that I'm excessively drinking today water, it's like 37 degrees in Australia, it's hot as balls. So, I'm just trying to stay hydrated, but the thing about Trump is this. He proposed short-term solutions to long-term problems in the most simplest way, Do you know what we didn't learn from Hitler? The thing we should have learned from Hitler, and a lot of critical thinkers will know this, Hitler was a minister of propaganda. He did it so well. The people that worked for Hitler, they say, was nearly hypnotized by his rhetoric. He was a true orator, as one of his most senior members of staff, Albert Speer, is known for quoting. You see, I think Trump, to be compared to Hitler, is very wrong. Extremely, extremely wrong. A lot of people are going to say, well, you know, there's a lot of similarities between Trump and Hitler. Well, I mean, you're right, to an extent. But they're not two the same people. We're talking about how did a man in the 20th century, who was in a war-torn country, who people were facing large economic faults, whose people were sick of the establishment and the figureheads that were in power, being the Weimar government, the November criminals. How could they stand? Who would fight for them? And Adolf Hitler proposed reforms, and ironically should have been hung for treason, but no one really mentions that because it's been sort of, the history of Nazi Germany has definitely been changed and edited to definitely demonize the Nazis even more. I don't know why, but they did. Like, there's a lot of things left out, like, people don't know, but the Nazi way of life is referred to as Nazism because they believe it was a religion. They don't want to say that people had free choice, or that it was a fascist state. Ironically, when you compare it to Joseph Stalin and Russia was not referred to as an atheist group. It's very interesting to my mind. They don't refer to it as an atheist group. You know, you don't see Stalinism going around. But in 2017, someone in the most free country, a billionaire businessman, can be the voice of the people. I don't know how that happens. How does a businessman get so far in an election? I mean, everyone's going to start somewhere, and I agree with that. But just think about it. This game is pay to win. If you believe that the system is right, the American political scene, that there shouldn't be any changes, you are completely wrong, because no one should ever have the choice of Trump or Clinton. You deserve better as American people. You deserve people like Bernie Sanders, who, although heavily flawed, and didn't release his taxes and things like that. I don't know all the things, but I've been telling that there's been faults, and that wasn't shown to us. But you know why that wasn't shown to us? Because Bernie had some things that neither of those candidates did. And I think the main thing Bernie had was, he was different. I want to encourage everyone out there, you got to be different in this world. Life would be boring if we had 30 million carbon copies, 22 million people with carbon copies in Australia. The thing about being different is this. You have to innovate some way yourself, some invention. The wheel was invented 4,000 years ago, but then we had the internet 30 years ago, and look at the way the internet has changed. We can now buy, sell, and it's been a massive aid in globalization. You have to really just think about what you want to do in life. Because while Trump is, in my opinion, more of a patriot than a white supremacist, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, hang on, but America has a diverse race in their country. Yeah, so did Nazi Germany. We didn't know how that went. So did Russia. But, I think the other thing too is we've got to stop comparing him to Hitler and things like that, because it's 100 years ago and there's a range of variety of factors. I think what we really need to look at is not so much why Trump will ruin America and ruin the world and destroy it all by 2021 or 2020, whenever he's inaugurated and all that. We have to look and think for a while. Just because he's president doesn't mean we have to follow his ethos. If he wants to start a war in the Middle East and continue a war. You know, it's hard, but you know what we know what the thing we should be looking at is America. Let's look at the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917. The 1% were overthrown by the people because one person enlightened them. Vladimir Lenin. Peace, bread, and land was the saying he used to those who was of the minority, who thought they were the minority of economic wealth, when they held all the power. Because what happens is when you have a pyramid so high, when the bottom falls, the rest of them falls. And that's the thing that we don't realize. Every single person, while they're alone, is weak. But when you put one or two together, we become stronger and stronger as we're unified. If you're so against Trump and his words of wisdom and his quotes and what he says, then don't buy into it. Voice your opinion. Say that you're against it. Say that you believe that women's rights are important. Say that you believe that Muslims should not be banned from America. Say that you don't believe all Mexicans should be deported because of the financial aid they bring to American culture and the labor they bring. Do you want to know something? Trump is an idiot in my eyes for one reason. The main reason he's an idiot is because he doesn't realize the economic and benefit and social benefits of having the Mexicans. But hang on. Do we want to look at something in history? Well, I mean, we can look at the Nazis, right? By taking away the minority that wasn't working, that was working, to give them to other people, to build their lavish things. Being Hitler and the Jews. Could that apply to the Trump and the Mexicans? I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I know, I'm a hypocrite, aren't I? Oh no, he said he's not going to stop talking about Hitler, he just mentioned it, and then, well... Unfortunately, history always does repeat itself in my eyes, because that's why we have the belief of economic causation in conjunction with Christendom, being that religion has brought, has undone some of the great works of this world, like, for example, the Roman Empire. I didn't say the Roman Empire was a great work of the world, I was just saying that that's what theory is. But you need to voice your opinion. You need to make sure that you can justify whoever you vote for. Do you share their ethos? Why did you vote for them? Because I'm telling you now, if your great viewpoint is that Trump is your president because they are rapists, they are, molesters, I don't know, whatever that famous fucking quote is, that really annoys me, because sweeping broad generalizations like that is why we can demonize people so quickly, and that we ruin individualism, which is a key component of our humanism. Because once you can start labeling people as a group, it makes it so easy to then class and divide and conquer. Because it's a lot harder to say, well, there's James Black here and his friend over there, and they have two very different viewpoints. But once you put them both as an Australian and go export them out to XY and tell them that they're Australian, even though they show two very simple viewpoints. I could be an Arsenal fan and my friend could be a Chelsea fan, and you could take us over to America and you could find, they'd say that both Australians, and they could be like, well, we're going to kill Australians because we hate Arsenal and we hate the way they fanboy over Arsenal. You would have just killed a Chelsea supporter and you would have feel no bad about it because you weren't informed. And that's where education is the most important thing, because we're in an age where individualism is what makes us human. But we keep getting told by a system that we should be a number, that we should be someone who values economics and someone who values the simplest things like materialism. I don't know. The other main thing we're told to value is our education and being the better than everyone else, which is the social Darwinism, which leads to the rise of such power and hate groups. Because even though we all want to get better, sometimes people can't imagine that there are other people that are better than feels in them. You know what? I'm decent at Pokemon, alright? There are millions of players better than me. But I've always known that no matter who I lose to, I've always got to be humble in defeat. Because that's the true caliber of a human. Because I know that if someone who is worse than me beats me, I'm going to be humble in defeat. You know? I believe that you can talk as much shit if you win a Pokemon battle against someone. So I guess someone's going to comment around here. Oh, I beat you. I'm going to fucking trash talk the shit out of you. Go for it, man. Because if I lost, I lost. That's the end of the story. But what makes it so hard is when we have these sweeping generalizations brought by people in power to really just dehumanize and ruin what we want for the collective good. And I think that's the first thing we need to look for, is the human good and human decency around the world. I reckon that what people forget is that people use facades to voice their opinions, because sometimes it's easier to just be like, well, I'm part of that group, that's my opinion, because they are too scared to form their own opinion because they are worried about persecution and therefore use it as a form of their escapism. You know what makes white supremacy such a scary thing? Is when you refer to everyone as a white supremacist, and that when people believe that there are things in this world that make them better than other people because of the way history has been. I find that the most ironic thing is when people say that African Americans do not believe in America, because they were majority of them come from slaves who, quite incidentally, didn't ask to go to America. They were sold. That's something that really a lot of people need to think of when they start talking about things, is that you have to remember that the white man was the colonial master. They have been the ruling man for thousands of years. You know, why do we have the fall of such great empires such as Egypt? Because Egypt was conquered by the Greeks. You had the Greeks, and they came conquered by the Romans. Then you had the Roman Empire. Then the Roman Empire failed because, you know what happened? They couldn't fight a war with everyone. The Germanic people split them. You know, there's so many things. The Christendom, you know, people were looking for answers, and Christianity provided them with answers. And that's where you have the second split, is because people were then persecuted for being Christian. And therefore it was so easy for Christians and other people to vilify the Romans. And therefore you can then divide and conquer the Roman Empire. Because you can make 30 different people hate them, all because of one sweeping generalization. Do you know that we went backwards in time in the Middle Ages, when Christianity and other religions were dominating? Do you know that the few parts of the world that didn't go backwards were Asia, in particular Japan. Japan has never gone through anything like America. They even got nuked, and they still could recover. Doesn't that show you something about the collective good, and the fact that there's something different about Japan? I mean, we look at Japan, you know, in particular Australia. Australia has a very interesting past with Japan, because Japan were pretty close to conquering Australia. It's one of the few times, besides colonialism, that we have looked at danger of being conquered. We weren't, and this could be a very different world. Same as the Vietnamese. They could have been conquered by the Japs, but they were saved by America, who trained what later would become the basis of the Vietnam War. Ho Chi Minh, I can't remember his group, but you have to know that if Trump is elected and your friends have voted for Trump, please don't feel you need to vilify them any more than they already feel for voting for someone like that. Or if someone didn't vote for Trump but voted for Clinton, I understand they have their reasons. They're an individual. And it doesn't matter if they're a Clinton supporter, because I'll tell you something now. They probably made a vote that took them about 3 or 4 days to really consider, right? You probably made a vote that took 3 or 4 days to consider. You know, your buddy that might have voted for an independent took 3 or 4 days to consider. They made the most logical vote they possibly could to benefit what they thought was their beliefs. And you know, if you and your buddy have always had football in common, if he voted Trump and he was an Arsenal supporter before Trump, and you were a Chelsea supporter before Trump, and after that, you still have a common thing of being in the BPL. So what? Just be happy that, you know, you'll have a match to watch together. Invite him around for a few beers. Because that's what being a human is about. And so many people think that they have to be this perfect image that is propaganded through the whole world. You have to be a certain dress size. You have to be able to lift a certain weight. You have to be of a certain intellect. No, you don't. You have to be the best version that you can be. If that means that your mental aptitude is getting like a 70 on, you know, an ATAR, or for like a 3.0 in a GPA or whatever it is, I don't know if that's good or bad, I just know it's a number. or if your physical strength can only limit you to benching 20 kilos. It's the best you can do. But at the end of the day, you have to hold what you hold dear in your heart. Make sure people understand that. And I'm sick of seeing that this whole American politics thing has divided the American people so much that they're forgetting about the things that I thought that Obama was meant to bring unity to America. But in fact, when he's left, it's more disenfranchised from when it started. And I want people to know that. I want people to be aware that your solution or your viewpoint was that you had a black president, so that that I just can't understand that you have a black president or an African American to really showcase, right? To showcase to your people that you believe that a black man can do something. Well, sorry, not like that, but like let me rephrase that for you guys. I never edit this out because I want you guys to understand every word that I say. That you believe that by electing a man of different ethnicity to the previous, I think 20, 30 presidents, would bring about change and greater harmony because you saw the value in by putting what you believe and hold dear in your hearts into a man that looks different to you. But in reality, when he's left, you have put back two people of the exact same previous establishment or previous way of order, being white upper class people. I don't know how back the president goes, but white upper class people, you have put them to be two people fighting, duking it out over two very different viewpoints. And the viewpoints that it came down to was, would you rather a woman win an election, or would you rather a bigot, racist, misogynist be elected? And that's what I don't understand, is that people want to change. People want to be brought together, but we have the people that represent us are the ones that separate us more and more every day, because they are too ambitious and for their own self-greed and are willing to sacrifice the views that people feel in their hearts, and that I hope people feel out in this world. Because in reality, when we die, we're all alone. So enjoy your time on this earth, because this is where you can feel connection. Because I think the greatest thing in this world is a connection to another person, whether it's a spiritual link, a talkative link, a friendship link, because it means that we're not alone. When you listen and buy into the hate speech and the other debates that go on, and the values that we don't hold dear in our hearts, because we are so worried about our own self-gain and motivation, we lose who we are. And I think that is the saddest thing in this world, and that's what politics does to us, is it ruins who we are. In Australia, I studied gay marriage, right? 60% of Australians want gay marriage to happen. It's a majority thing. The way the politics should work is that because it's in the valued interest of Australians, from a survey of a cross-section of society, there should be talks about change about gay marriage. But it doesn't occur, because the people in the establishment don't believe it. I think that's the saddest thing about this, is that they are meant to represent us, not represent themselves. I think that's something we need to change for us to move forward in this world and in this lifetime. And that's all I've got to say. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace.